Good evening. You've arrived at a quiet place meant for rest. There is nothing you need to do here, nothing to solve, nothing to understand or remember. This is a calm science story, told slowly and designed to remain in the background while you rest. You don't need to listen closely. You don't need to follow each sentence. If your attention drifts, that's completely fine. If the words fade into sound, that's fine too. Right now, your body is already doing what it needs to do. Breathing continues without effort. The surface beneath you is providing support evenly and quietly. There is no instruction to follow, nothing to improve, nothing to prepare for. This recording isn't meant to take you somewhere new. It isn't meant to explain something that requires focus. It's meant to stay steady and predictable, the way many natural processes do when they're not being watched closely. Everything you'll hear is based on well-established scientific understanding. Not ideas meant to surprise, not concepts meant to hold attention. The information will be shared softly, without urgency, without emphasis, because nothing here is happening quickly, and nothing here depends on your attention. If you fall asleep at any point, that's expected. If you remain awake for a while, that's fine as well. The story doesn't rely on sequence. It doesn't build toward a conclusion. It doesn't ask you to keep track of what has already been said. It simply continues at a steady pace. You may notice pauses between phrases. Those pauses are intentional. They allow space between sounds without requiring you to do anything with that space. As you rest, your thoughts can move at their own speed. Some may appear briefly. Others may drift away before forming clearly. There's no need to guide them, no need to hold on to them. For now, it's enough to be here, resting, listening if you want to, not listening if you don't. The voice will remain calm and even. The tone will not change suddenly. Nothing unexpected will be introduced. The science will unfold quietly in the background, slowly, evenly, just as it always does. As you continue resting, there's no need to adjust your position unless your body naturally wants to. If you're already comfortable, stillness can remain exactly as it is. Breathing is happening on its own. You don't need to change it. You don't need to slow it down or make it deeper. Each breath arrives, and then it leaves, without effort. The body understands this rhythm without being told. It has been happening quietly, long before attention was placed on it. The weight of your body is being supported by the surface beneath you, evenly, without any need for balance or control. There's nothing to hold yourself up, nothing to keep in place. The muscles in the face may already be softening, around the eyes, along the jaw, the tongue resting naturally without being held in a particular position. If any tension remains, it doesn't need to disappear. The body does not require complete relaxation in order to rest. It only needs consistency and time. The shoulders can remain where they are, not pulled downward, not adjusted, simply supported by gravity, doing what it has always done. Your arms are present. They don't need symmetry. They don't need a specific arrangement. They're simply part of the body, resting along with everything else. Breathing continues at its own pace. The rhythm may change slightly from one moment to the next. That's normal. The body adjusts continuously without asking for permission. Lower in the body, the abdomen moves gently with each breath. There's no need to hold it in, no need to control it. It responds naturally to pressure and release. Your legs are supported. Their weight is already being carried, There's nothing to keep upright, nothing to stabilize. The feet don't require attention. They don't need to feel warm or heavy or light. They can remain unnoticed, resting at the far end of the body. As these sensations remain steady, the nervous system begins to notice the lack of demand. There's no task waiting, no signal to respond to, no change expected. This is often when activity begins to slow, not because it's being directed to, but because there's nothing pressing to react to. Thoughts may still appear, fragments of the day, images, loose pieces of conversation. They don't need to be pushed away. They don't need to be followed. They can pass through the mind the same way sounds pass through a quiet room, present for a moment, then gone. If attention drifts away from these words, that's completely fine. The body doesn't require continuous input. It responds just as well to steadiness and tone. The voice you're hearing isn't here to guide you somewhere specific. It's here to remain consistent, allowing internal systems to settle at their own pace. There's nowhere else to be, nothing else to prepare for. The night doesn't require readiness. You can continue resting exactly as you are, breathing, supported, unchanged. The body already knows how to do this. As the body remains supported and still, attention often becomes less focused on individual sensations. It doesn't disappear, it simply spreads out. There may no longer be a clear boundary between one part of the body and another. Sensations become less specific, less defined. This shift doesn't require effort. It happens naturally when there is nothing asking for a response. Awareness begins to feel broader, less centered on detail, more open, without needing to settle on anything in particular. In the environment around you, similar changes often occur. Light becomes softer as the evening progresses. Shadows lose their edges. Sounds tend to thin out. Some fade into the distance. Others become less noticeable as gaps between them grow longer. Nothing needs to be adjusted for this to happen. It unfolds on its own, gradually and without instruction. In nature, many processes move this way, not in sharp transitions, but in slow shifts that are easy to overlook. Temperature changes across the night without a clear moment of change. Activity slows without a signal to mark it. Movement becomes less frequent. The body is familiar with this rhythm. It developed within environments shaped by repetition and gradual variation, not constant alertness. Because of that, predictable conditions tend to feel neutral. They don't demand attention. They don't suggest urgency. As stimulation decreases, the nervous system has less to monitor. Fewer signals require interpretation. Fewer changes need to be tracked. This doesn't mean awareness disappears. It simply becomes less focused on specifics. There is no need to notice when one state ends and another begins. There is no clear line separating them. Attention can move freely, or it can rest without choosing a place to land. If images appear, they don't need to be held. If thoughts arise, they don't need to connect to one another. They can remain incomplete, unfinished, unorganized. The voice continues, steady and even, not to hold attention, but to provide a consistent background. Something stable enough that the mind doesn't need to stay alert. This is often when awareness begins to feel less structured, less bound to sequence. Moments don't need to be counted. There is no order to follow. The body remains supported, Breathing continues without effort. The environment stays quiet and unchanged. Nothing here depends on precision. Nothing requires tracking. As this steadiness remains, perception can soften further. Without direction, without being guided, the transition continues quietly on its own. When people talk about time, it's often described as something measured by clocks, seconds, minutes, hours. Those measurements are precise. They're stable. They move forward at a constant rate. But the way time is experienced does not come from a clock. The brain does not measure time directly. It does not sense minutes or hours as physical objects. What it experiences instead is duration, a sense of how long something seems to last. This sense is not fixed. It changes depending on conditions. In neuroscience, time perception is understood as an outcome of how the brain processes information, not as a separate sense like sight or hearing, but as a result of many systems working together. When there is a lot happening, the brain has more signals to process, more changes to notice, more moments to mark. When there is less happening, fewer markers are created. The clock continues moving at the same pace in both cases, but the experience of time does not. This difference is subtle, and it often goes unnoticed during the day. During periods of activity, attention is frequently divided. The brain moves quickly from one signal to the next. Moments are segmented into smaller pieces. Each segment leaves a trace, not always as a clear memory, but as a reference point. Over time, these reference points form a sense of flow. One thing follows another. Duration feels structured. When those reference points become less frequent, the structure softens. This does not mean time stops. It does not mean it slows down in any physical sense. It means the brain has fewer internal markers to compare one moment to the next. In quieter conditions, experience becomes less segmented. Moments are not broken apart as often. They begin to blend. Without frequent markers, duration can feel different, more open, less defined. This is not an error in perception. It is a normal response to reduced stimulation. The brain is not designed to keep constant track of time. It is designed to respond to change. When change becomes less frequent, monitoring becomes less necessary. This allows attention to relax. There is less need to anticipate what comes next, less need to prepare. The experience of time becomes less about sequence and more about continuity. There is no clear beginning or end to a moment. One state gently overlaps with the next. From the outside, time appears unchanged. From the inside, it feels different. This difference does not require interpretation. It does not need to be understood or noticed closely. It is simply part of how perception adjusts to its environment. As stimulation decreases, the brain shifts from tracking events to maintaining stability. It does not stop processing. It processes differently. Duration becomes less precise, less outlined. This change is gradual. There is no moment when it suddenly begins. It unfolds quietly, alongside other shifts that happen as conditions become more consistent and less demanding. The clock continues its steady movement, but experience does not rely on the clock. It follows the rhythm of perception instead, and that rhythm can change without effort when there is less to respond to. As the night continues, the environment naturally provides fewer signals for the brain to process. Light levels are lower, colors are less distinct, edges soften. The visual system receives less information, not because it stops working, but because there is simply less variation to interpret. Sounds also tend to become more sparse. Periods of quiet grow longer. Background noise becomes more uniform. These changes are gradual. They do not happen all at once. There is no clear point when the day ends and night begins. For the brain, this reduction in stimulation changes how attention is distributed. During the day, attention often shifts rapidly. It moves from one signal to the next, responding to changes in light, sound, and movement. Each shift creates a small internal marker, a moment that stands apart from the one before it. At night, these shifts become less frequent. With fewer changes to track, attention does not need to move as often. It can remain in a more settled state. This does not mean awareness disappears. It means it becomes less active in monitoring the environment. The brain's role shifts from responding to change to maintaining stability. This shift affects how duration is experienced. When there are many signals, moments are easier to distinguish. They feel separate, ordered. When signals become less frequent, those distinctions soften. Moments begin to blend into one another. There are fewer internal cues to mark when one ends and another begins. The clock continues measuring time with precision, but the brain is no longer using the same number of reference points. This difference becomes more noticeable at night, not because the brain changes its rules, but because the environment offers fewer changes to respond to. Artificial light can extend daytime patterns. Screens, movement, and sound can increase stimulation. But in quieter conditions, the reduction becomes more apparent. The nervous system adapts to this environment without instruction. It has done so throughout human history, long before clocks were used to track time. As stimulation decreases, monitoring becomes less necessary. Attention becomes less vigilant. This allows perception to soften further. There is less need to anticipate what comes next, less need to remain alert for change. The experience of duration becomes more continuous, less divided into segments. This is one reason why time can feel different at night, not because it is moving differently, but because it is being processed differently. The brain does not actively count moments. It notices change. When change slows, counting becomes less relevant. Instead of tracking events, the brain maintains a steady internal state. This steady state does not require frequent updates. It does not need constant correction. It simply continues. As this pattern remains, the sense of time becomes less precise, less structured. Moments do not stand out as clearly. They flow into one another without clear boundaries. This change does not demand attention. It does not require understanding. It happens quietly, alongside other adjustments that occur when the environment becomes more predictable and less demanding. The night provides these conditions naturally. Lower light, fewer sounds, less movement. With fewer signals to process, the brain tracks less. And when tracking softens, the experience of duration softens with it. Time continues, evenly, unchanged, but the way it is felt becomes quieter, less defined. And that difference can be noticed or not noticed at all. Either way, the process continues on its own. As attention becomes less active, it no longer moves as quickly from one point to another. During the day, attention often shifts rapidly. It jumps between sights, sounds, thoughts, and tasks. Each shift creates a sense of progression. One moment follows another. Time feels segmented. At night, these shifts slow down. Attention does not need to scan the environment as frequently. There are fewer changes to respond to, fewer signals asking for interpretation. As a result, attention can remain in one place for longer periods, or it can drift without needing to settle anywhere specific. This change does not happen suddenly. It unfolds gradually alongside the reduction in stimulation. When attention slows, the brain creates fewer internal markers. There are fewer points that stand out as distinct moments. Without those markers, duration begins to feel less structured. Moments are not clearly separated. They do not announce their beginning or their end. Instead, they blend into one another. This blending can give the impression that time is stretching, not because more time has passed, but because fewer divisions are being made within it. The clock continues moving forward at the same pace, but experience is no longer being divided into small units. Attention no longer needs to check where it is in time. There is no task that depends on knowing. As monitoring decreases, the sense of urgency fades. There is nothing to catch up to, nothing to anticipate. This allows duration to feel more open, less constrained by sequence. When attention is highly focused, time often feels precise. Moments feel defined, ordered. When attention relaxes, precision becomes less relevant. The brain does not lose track of time. It simply stops emphasizing it. Instead of tracking progression, it maintains continuity. This shift does not require awareness. It does not need to be noticed to take place. Attention can continue slowing without direction, without being guided. Thoughts may still appear, but they are less likely to pull attention forward. They do not form a chain that needs to be followed. Images may arise. They may fade before becoming clear. None of this needs to be corrected. As attention remains unoccupied, duration becomes less distinct. Time is still present, it is still passing, but without frequent markers, it does not stand out. This is a natural state, one that occurs when there is little demand for action or response. The brain is not designed to actively track time when nothing depends on it. At night, this condition is common. Attention settles. Tracking softens. The experience of duration expands, not in length, but in openness. There is more space between moments, more continuity. Nothing needs to happen next. The environment remains stable. The body remains supported. Attention does not need to return to the present moment. It is already there. It can remain still or drift gently. The process continues without effort, and as attention continues to slow, the sense of time remains quiet, less outlined, less defined. It does not ask to be measured. It simply continues. As attention remains relaxed, the way experiences are recorded also begins to change. Memory is closely tied to how time is felt, not because memory measures time, but because it provides reference points. During the day, many moments are marked. Conversations, movements, tasks beginning and ending. Each of these leaves a small trace, not always a clear memory, but enough to separate one moment from the next. At night, fewer of these traces are created. There are fewer events that require response, fewer changes that stand out. Because of this, the brain records less detail, not as a failure, but as an adjustment. When nothing needs to be remembered, there is no need to store much. This does not mean experience disappears. It simply becomes lighter. Moments are lived without being marked. When memory encoding becomes thinner, time feels different while it is passing. But it also feels different when it is looked back on. Without clear markers, duration can feel expanded, not because more happened, but because there are fewer points to measure against. This is why long periods of quiet can feel indistinct. One moment does not clearly separate itself from the next. The experience becomes continuous, less segmented. The brain does not need to label what is happening. It does not need to decide what is important. As a result, memory remains minimal. This is a common state at night. The environment is stable. The body is still. Attention is not being pulled outward. In these conditions, the brain conserves effort. It records only what is necessary. Most moments pass without being stored. This does not interfere with rest. It supports it. When fewer memories are formed, there is less internal activity, less processing, less evaluation. Experience continues without commentary. Time is not being tracked. It is not being organized into before and after. Instead, it flows as a single, extended state. This does not require awareness. It does not need to be noticed. It happens naturally when conditions are quiet and predictable. As memory encoding remains light, there is less reason to remain alert. Nothing needs to be held onto. The mind does not need to prepare for recall. It does not need to make sense of sequence. Moments can pass without leaving a trace. This is often when the sense of time becomes especially soft. Not because time has changed, but because there is little being recorded within it. The clock continues moving forward, but internally there is less to compare. Without comparison, duration becomes open. There is no clear sense of how much time has passed, and no need to know. This state does not signal sleep. It does not cause sleep. It simply removes the need to stay engaged. Memory remains quiet. Attention remains settled. Experience continues without being marked. And in that unmarked flow, time does not stand out. It remains present, even, unhurried. By now, there is no need to keep track of what has already been said. Nothing here depends on remembering details. Nothing is building toward a conclusion. The ideas introduced earlier remain the same. They do not change. They do not develop further. Time continues at a steady pace. Perception remains soft. Attention stays relaxed. These conditions do not require monitoring. The environment has not shifted. The body is still supported. Breathing continues without effort. There is no signal indicating that something new is about to begin. From this point on, no new concepts will be introduced. The information will not become more detailed. The pace will not increase. The same ideas may return, not to add meaning, but to maintain rhythm. If your attention fades now, nothing is missed. If awareness drifts away, the process continues on its own. There is no advantage in staying alert for what comes next. The experience does not depend on sequence. It does not rely on understanding. The brain does not need to hold on to anything that has been said. There is nothing to remember, nothing to complete. Words may continue to arrive. They may also begin to blur together, Pauses may feel longer. Time may feel less distinct. None of this needs to be noticed. The voice will remain consistent. The tone will not change. There will be no sudden shifts. This is a point of permission. Permission to stop listening closely. Permission to stop following sentences. Permission to let the voice remain in the background. The patterns described earlier continue whether or not they are followed. Time does not require attention to pass. Perception does not require effort to soften. The body remains supported. The night remains quiet. If sleep arrives now, it arrives naturally. If it does not, there is no problem. Nothing here depends on an outcome. The mind does not need to stay engaged. It does not need to decide what comes next. From here on, the experience remains open, unfinished, unresolved. There is no ending to reach. The same steady rhythm continues, even, predictable. And within that steadiness, there is room to rest. Time continues in the same way it always has, steadily, without variation. It does not adjust itself to attention. It does not slow down or speed up. It simply moves forward. The way it is experienced can change, but time itself remains unchanged. This distinction does not need to be understood. It does not need to be remembered. The same conditions remain in place. The environment stays quiet. The level of stimulation remains low. Nothing new is being introduced. Attention does not need to return to anything. It does not need to check where it is. It can remain settled or drift gently without direction. Moments continue to pass. They are not being marked. They are not being counted. Without markers, there is no clear sense of division. One moment blends into the next. This blending is not a problem. It is part of the process. The brain does not need to organize experience into segments. Nothing depends on order. Time continues evenly, whether or not it is noticed. The same ideas return quietly, not to add meaning, not to move forward, just to remain consistent. The body remains supported. Breathing continues without effort. There is no shift in posture, no signal of change. The night remains the same. Attention may feel lighter now, less defined. Thoughts may appear as fragments, or not at all. There is no need to follow them. The experience does not require clarity. Time does not ask to be measured. It does not need to be checked against a reference. It continues in the background, independent of perception. The voice remains even. The pace remains slow. Words arrive, then pass. They do not accumulate. Pauses may feel longer or shorter. There is no need to decide. The rhythm remains steady. Nothing is building. Nothing is resolving. The same descriptions may repeat. They do not lead anywhere. They are not meant to. The repetition itself is the structure. Time continues. Perception remains soft. There is no urgency. The mind does not need to stay alert. The environment remains unchanged. The body remains supported. Nothing here depends on attention. The experience can remain open, unstructured. Time moves forward without announcing itself, and as it does, there is no need to follow. The rhythm is enough. As the night continues, awareness often becomes less structured. There is less need to organize experience, less need to arrange moments into a sequence. The day carries structure, schedules, expectations, clear transitions from one activity to the next. At night, much of that structure falls away. There is no requirement to prepare for what comes next, no task waiting to be completed. The environment does not ask for response. It remains quiet, predictable. Because of this, awareness does not need to stay sharp. It can remain open, unfocused, unconcerned with direction. Moments do not need to be placed in order. They do not need to be named. There is no advantage in distinguishing one from another. The night does not reward precision. It does not require timing. Time continues in the background, evenly, without urgency. Attention does not need to check itself against the clock. There is nothing to be late for. This lack of demand allows experience to loosen. Thoughts may slow, or they may pause. Images may appear briefly, or not at all. None of this requires correction. Awareness does not need to hold shape. It can remain undefined. The body continues resting. Breathing remains steady. There is no signal calling for alertness, no reason to anticipate change. As structure fades, urgency fades with it. There is no moment that needs to be met, no transition that needs to be marked. Time passes without pressure. The mind does not need to decide where it is within it. The night allows this state naturally. Lower stimulation, fewer signals, less demand. With less to respond to, awareness softens further. It becomes less concerned with detail, less invested in sequence. Experience becomes more continuous. Nothing here depends on clarity. The voice remains present, but it does not ask to be followed. Words can arrive without forming meaning. They can dissolve into rhythm. The space between them becomes more noticeable than the words themselves. There is no instruction hidden here, no expectation. The night does not ask anything of you. Awareness can remain exactly as it is, unstructured, unhurried. Time continues quietly, and with nothing required, there is no need to stay alert. The rhythm continues. Nothing shifts, nothing resolves. The same steady patterns remain in place. Time continues moving forward, quietly, evenly. There is no signal marking its passage, no clear boundary between one moment and the next. Words arrive, then fade. They do not need to connect. They do not need to complete a thought. The space between them is enough. Breathing continues on its own. There is no need to notice it. The body remains supported. Nothing needs to be held or adjusted. Awareness can remain where it is, or it can drift. There is no preference. The voice remains present, but it does not ask to be followed. Sentences do not need to be finished. Meaning does not need to form. The rhythm is consistent, predictable. There are no changes in tone, no emphasis. The environment remains quiet, unchanged. Time continues without interruption. It does not pause. It does not hurry. Moments pass without being marked. There is nothing to keep track of, nothing to remember. Thoughts may appear briefly. They may dissolve before becoming clear. There is no need to respond. The experience does not move toward an ending. It remains open, unresolved. Words soften, edges blur. The sound of the voice becomes part of the background, like distant motion, like steady cycles that do not announce themselves. Nothing important is happening, and that is enough. The rhythm continues. even, unchanging. There is no reason to stay awake for what comes next. The words no longer carry information. They only carry pace. That pace does not need to be understood. It can remain quietly in the background. Time continues. The night continues. And the stillness remains. The rhythm remains. Nothing changes. Time continues moving forward without marking its passage, evenly, quietly. The environment stays the same. There is no shift in sound, no signal of transition. Words may still appear. They do not need to form meaning. They can arrive, then pass. The space between them is enough. Breathing continues without instruction. The body remains supported. There is nothing to hold in place, nothing to adjust. Awareness does not need to settle anywhere specific. It can remain open, or it can drift. There is no direction to follow. Moments do not announce themselves. They do not separate clearly. One blends into the next. Time does not require attention to continue. It does not respond to being noticed. The same steady motion remains in the background. The voice stays even, unchanged. It does not guide. It does not explain. It simply remains. Words soften further. They lose their edges. Sentences do not need to complete. Meaning is no longer necessary. The rhythm is consistent, predictable. Nothing here depends on awareness. If sleep has already arrived, the sound continues without being heard. If awareness returns briefly, it can drift again just as easily. There is no advantage in staying alert. Nothing new will begin. The night does not move toward an ending. It continues. Time continues. The motion remains steady, and the quiet stays.